So in today's video, I'm going to talk about an often under-discussed neighborhood that is incredibly awesome, full of history, full of character, and right in the middle of town, but it just gets looked over a lot. And so we're going to focus on it today. It's West Freemason. We're going to talk about the neighborhood itself, why I like it, and also why I don't like it. So we'll get into the details to determine if this kind of type of neighborhood makes sense for you to live in. And we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sam Sansalone, and I'm a real estate agent in the Hampton Roads area. That includes Virginia Beach and goes through Williamsburg, and I do videos every week about living and moving to the area. So I've talked a lot about downtown Norfolk and also about Ghent. I love Ghent. It's one of my favorite parts of Hampton Roads. It's got so much stuff, but sandwiched between downtown Norfolk and also Ghent, it's this little pocket of amazing architecture and great spots to live. And look on the map, you'll see downtown Norfolk right here. And then just northwest of that is Ghent. Again, I love Ghent. Talked all about Ghent. And the western part of Norfolk is fantastic, full of character. But sandwiched in between, there's the Hague, where the Christ Museum is. That's also in Ghent. Just boop south of there is this section right here along the water, along the Elizabeth River, and near downtown Norfolk, which is right here. It's called West Freemason. And so this area, it's not very big. You'll see you got York Street, Butte, Freemason, down towards Tazewell and Brook Avenue. This whole area here is what we're talking about. But the story to this area dates back into the 1700s, which is when this area was built, first formed. During the American Revolutionary War, this area got decimated to the point to where most of it was not habitable. But over the next decades, they started rebuilding this neighborhood. And so in the 1800s, this area was thriving again. But as we get into the World War I, World War II time period, this area became more dilapidated again. And a lot of these single family houses became places for military personnel to live during the war. Well, after that ended into the 50s, this area then became, I guess, really a shell of itself. So the city then eventually took focus on this area and made it a historical place and built new properties in here, new condo neighborhoods, row houses, townhouses. So into the 60s, into the 80s, you'll see houses built in this time period that while they're newer compared to a lot of these 1800s style houses that there were before, they still were designed and built in a way that preserved the feel and the vibe of Freemason and the feel of that old historic area. So you'll see in this area a mixture of different types of houses. You'll see those row houses, those newer row houses or condos built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they can be anywhere from like one-bedroom houses or condos going up into the 3-4 bedroom and up penthouse suites with 3,000, 4,000 square feet. They can be anywhere from $200,000, $250,000 upwards into the over $1 million price range. And so depending on if you've got a view of the water, which some of these condos have, or maybe it's a larger row house that's like 3,000 square feet, which could be $800,000, or it could be a one-bedroom loft style in the 250, 260 range. But what you'll find is a select few houses have still stayed intact that are built maybe like in the early 1800s, for example. And some of these have names. For example, the Kenmure House, the Glisson House is another one. There's one called the Whittle House, the Camp Hubbard House. I went back and looked. There are about 15 single-family houses still intact in Freemason that are again, massive houses in a lot of these cases, and they're just enormous houses, either anywhere from 4,000 upwards to 6,000 square feet. They're big. They've also preserved some aesthetics of the neighborhood as well. For example, Freemason Street still has cobblestones on it, so it has that cobblestone feel, like you're just kind of riding your car along. It's that annoying. It's annoying when you're driving down it, but when you're walking it looks great. You've got like wrought iron, cast iron fences in the neighborhood. So a lot of the older aesthetics still are here. And so it feels very historic because it is very historic. So if you're a lover of history and you want like a massive house to kind of just staple yourself into Norfolk and get the true meat and potatoes of the history of Norfolk, this area could, every once in a while, you might find a single family house that pops up here on the market, but very few of them do. Though your best bet will be to get a condo or townhouse in here that could be anywhere from the 200 price range upwards and over $1 million, depending on what you want. But what's cool about this area is, again, it has a very walkable vibe. I'll show you on the map. You can walk from Freemason easily down to Waterside, which has a big Town Point Park, a lot of festivals there, some restaurants along Waterside that is a whole renovated new section section over closer towards the Norfolk Harbor Park where the Tides play. That's a great spot. And then also you're closer to the rest of downtown Norfolk with all the restaurants off Granby Street. So you can walk to all of that. And then the southern part of Freemason, there's a place called the Pagoda and Oriental Garden, which it's a pagoda that was given to us from Taiwan. This was built in the 80s, and there's a nice garden setting all through there. You can walk through there. There's nice benches in there. So it's kind of a nice, just calm setting. There used to be a restaurant in the pagoda, and I have not heard, I don't think it's there anymore. Check out the garden. I checked that out. You can walk through there. Very easy walkable access from the rest of West Freemason. In addition to that, there are other cool like waterfront views you can get to the shoreline from Freemason. And again, there's condos that also line the shoreline too. So if you want to live on the water, you can. If you want to live off the water, you can. And so some of my favorites, I think my favorites are the row houses on College Avenue, which are a couple blocks off the water. It's really nice, kind of a stately brick front, and you can easily walk to the water. You can easily walk towards downtown Norfolk, and those are going to be mostly in the 5s and 6s at this point. Some of them will bump up. Some of those larger ones, you'll see a couple up into the 8s and 9s and over $1 million, the larger ones. But most of them are going to be like 2,000 square foot to 3,000 square feet in the 5s and 6s. Now, in addition to all the residential spots and the commercial buildings I talked about, there are some cool restaurants and nooks that are in here that are very cool to be living near, that you can walk to and not have to walk across a major road. For example, the Cure Coffee House is an awesome coffee shop that is right next to, it's in the corner of Freemason. Next to that, in front of it, is Voila, a very good French restaurant. And then next to that is what's called the Restaurant at 411 York. That's the name of the place, but it's also very good. That section is all on the northwestern side of West Freemason, closer to the Hague, just right across up the road there. And then going further towards the east, you have a restaurant called Freemason Abbey, which is a kind of a classic staple of Norfolk, closer to Bush Street on the eastern side of Freemason. I'll show you right there. There's Freemason Abbey on the corner of Bush Street. And then going away from there in the center of West Freemason is Omar's Carriage House. So then you got that. You got a couple parks in there. And so if you want to stay in West Freemason for a day and just enjoy the day and not have to walk and go across into downtown Norfolk or into Ghent, you can do that and not leave your neighborhood. So and also too, next to Freemason, the Tide has a stop that's right in here too, kind of on the northern section of West Freemason. And so this can take you up into towards Ghent, or even get down towards the rest of Norfolk. So I haven't even mentioned all the other stuff in downtown Norfolk, which if you haven't seen my videos about downtown Norfolk, I would definitely recommend those, or also in the areas of Ghent. But briefly, you can hit Chrysler Hall very easily, Performing Arts Center. Across the street from that is Scope, another performing arts center and arena for like the Norfolk Admirals. The minor league hockey team plays there. Other big shows are there. You can go back into downtown Norfolk. The Norva is a great concert hall. I think my favorite venue anywhere in Hampton Roads, and also the other cool like walkable parts of Ghent. And you have restaurants galore in downtown Norfolk and in Ghent. So you're surrounded by all this within a few minute drive, or you could walk there if you wanted to as well. Like, so when I lived in Ghent, I walked from Ghent down into downtown Norfolk. It took me about 12 minutes or so to get down into the southern part, into the Freemason section. Now let's talk about the things I don't like about West Freemason. Number one is it does require flood insurance, and most of the area, especially on the western side of West Freemason. So the closer you get to the water, you're going to have more of an issue with flood insurance. It's not a huge issue, especially in most of the areas. Like the last tropical system in the area, I drove through into some of the more problematic parts of the area, like into Larchmont in the northern part of Norfolk, northwestern. And I took some video, and you could see some really big issues with street flooding and intersections that flooded. But I went into West Freemason, and it was wet, but there wasn't a lot of standing water in West Freemason. So it can be an issue, but it doesn't always have to be. And so I just would keep that in mind. It's not something I like. You may have to pay for that flood insurance depending on which building you're in or which house that you live in. So that's one thing. Number two is the lack of single family houses can be a big bummer. I mean, you got the nice historic look of the ones that are there, but they are so infrequently on the market, and they're so massive. When you buy one of these things, you're buying like a situation. You're not just buying a house, you're buying a whole thing. You gotta you gotta maintain it. Some of them might not be fully renovated. You got to just put all this work into it. So I'm more of if I was going to live in here, I'd pick more of the townhouse, the row house style, maybe a condo, but preferably the row houses, for example, on College Avenue. And while I do like the cobblestone street, the annoyance is that you have to drive down it. It's frustrating. Just the bumpiness can be kind of annoying. Now, if you have a family in here, there aren't too many yards. So if you have kids and you want a bigger yard, there aren't really any spots in here to me, for backyard space, that this is not really the place for that. So if you have any more questions about relocating to Norfolk or Hampton Roads at all, that's what I do. I love helping people relocate to this area and deciding that this is the right place for them. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I've got my contact information in the description. You can ask me anything you like. You can reach out at any point, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.